Hey, 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 beautiful Earth Angels Divine. Happy weekend to one and all. So, I wasn't planning on doing this video, but my Starry Soul twin sister watched the video from yesterday in which I was talking about um, ways by which we may experience and more specifically traverse through discomforting emotions that we as Earth Angels Divine have. And she had made mention how to some people, the terminology being love might incite some confusion, and that caused me to ponder upon the need potentially for some clarification. So, as it's something I discuss pretty much all the time, and if you are going to be tuning in, it's probably best that we touch upon it, however briefly, because, of course, is the understanding that when we're talking about being love, or maybe not, of course, there is the understanding, so let's make there the understanding. When we're talking about being love, we're talking about a consciousness paradigm. And when we're talking about consciousness, we're talking about something that is infinite. We are talking about something that is on a level of the metaphysical, the esoteric. We're talking about perception. We're talking about existence itself. So there are an infinite number of ways of understanding and looking at and seeing, as there are an infinite number of things to be looking at and understanding and seeing. So obviously we could be here for hundreds of thousands of years discussing this, but that will not be the case. I'm going to try to just touch upon this specifically. And for those who would like to get into more, you can come back to watch more of these wonderful videos that we get to share with and together. And for those in Toronto, check out our S3 community group page, as we will be having Sanctuary Soul Sanctuary Metaphysical Ministry services, in which we will be engaging in these very types of conversations with one another. So we can all get into the juiciness then as well. All right, so back to today regarding emotions and being love. So my Starry Soul sister was saying, like, one may question, is it okay? Does being love allow for one to be angry? Because it doesn't really compute that the two would go together. So, yes, being love does not negate any of our human emotions. In fact, and from my intuitive understanding, one of the reasons that we as human beings exist in the first place and have come to the Earth School is for us to be able to feel the emotions, to feel the vibrational frequencies that we otherwise would only feel as a vibrational frequency. We are a much more dense, slower vibration, so that we can have the space and time, illusory, but nonetheless part of the experience of allowing us to have a fuller experience, if you will, of consciousness itself. So we're slowing down the experience, so it's not just a wave that goes through us, but we can actually feel, oh, that's what that feels like. Oh, and it's associated with emotions, or the feelings of the wave frequencies of consciousness, which we get to interpret into whatever it is that we are wanting. We can call it anger, we can call it passion, we can call it sadness, we can call it melancholy, we can call it bliss. That is part of the glory of being an Earth Angel Divine and our infinite abilities to create. So that is also part of love consciousness, or being love. It doesn't negate these things. Everything is incorporated, everything is part of, but it also provides a means by which we may traverse through these experiences in a heightened state of bliss. Fear consciousness does not make room for any of these things. It's very exclusionary and destructive in its nature, and being love can actually include that as well, but it would be coming from a perspective in which we are seeing it as not being destructive in its completion. It would be that we are reassessing and repurposing for the benefit of all. And again, we can spiral out with this. So I'm going to try and keep focused because it's so easy to go off on tangents with everything. At the end of the day, all of the emotions are included in being love. It's what we do with them, how we respond to them. It's a question of how we, as I like to say, perceive, receive, and respond to life itself. And we can do so from a place that is more comforting, that is easier for us to handle, and that is actually assisting us as opposed to blocking us or getting us stuck or making it impossible for us to move forward. Our emotions are actually signals that are informing us of reactions that are happening on an unconscious level to stimuli. So it's reactions to stimuli that are basically being communicated through the feelings that we are having. So there is a way by which we may have a little bit more detachment and objectivity when the emotion comes up, that we can say, oh, that was discomforting for me. Okay, so now how am I going to make use of this information to better navigate through this situation that will benefit both myself and all people and things and what have you involved, that everybody is going to benefit. So there are means by which we may navigate through this gift we call life that are easier and lighter and sweeter. And if we know that there is a means by which life can be sweeter, by which we may be experiencing greater ease and joy in life, who exactly would not want that? And when we are then told that not only is there a way for it to be sweeter, but that you do not have to participate in any kind of hard physical labor, blood, sweat, and tears are not necessary to be involved in it, that it's just a matter of shifting the way that you are perceiving, receiving, and responding to life. It's a very quiet, relaxed shift that is required to welcome greater bliss into one's life. Then why exactly would anybody say no? So stop fighting, those of you who do being love. I know it's foreign to many of we. It's confusing to a lot of we. And for some, it's inconceivable that life can actually be so magnificent and sweet and wonderful. But it can. And if you stop fighting it and just long enough to at least start contemplating and pondering upon the infinite potential of experiencing life from a perspective that is more loving than fear-based. And fear-based is, again, there's so many aspects to fear: insecurity, worry, stress. It is putting forth negative thought frequencies about life. It is coming from a negative perspective about life when we could be coming from one that is more positive, which again does not negate that the negative is there, but it is how do we understand it? How do we respond to it? How do we use it? How do we build and create from it? Because that is, after all, what we are as human beings and as consciousness itself, forever expanding and blossoming and growing and learning and being. And part of this experience of being an earth angel divine. So allow oneself to be a little bit more open instead of defending so much the fear that you are so accustomed and acclimatized to, so that you can at least give yourself the opportunity to see what being love can offer to you. And knowing that, yes, you still get to experience all the emotions that you do and be all of the human that you do, but in a fuller, more magnificently wonderful manner that benefits yourself and all of we. So I'm going to end there, because otherwise, again, we can keep going, and we will in other videos, but for now, hopefully, and oh, okay, one little PS. When I'm speaking to love and being love, not only consciousness, but it's a namaste love. It's not an ooh, baby love, and it's not an oh, love. It's a we are one. And beyond the levels of doing X, Y, and Z and feeling A, B, and C, there is a level beyond that where we are the creators of this. And this is just Play-Doh that we're playing with. And on this level of the creators that we are, where we're beyond emotions, beyond this, these discrepancies of perception, is the knowingness of our unity and the recognition that when I am looking at you and you are looking at me, we are looking at ourselves. However we may be, whatever parts of self we have chosen to express, it is self. And so that is the love that we speak to, the love beyond and through and infinite and all. All right. Hopefully that's a little easier, more clear clarifications. And, you know, I am a human being too, and sometimes the words that I use and the means by which I explain things can be confusing, and sometimes confusing to me too. So together we will journey through this wonderful gift that we call life, and this opportunity to be love. Bliss kiss to one and all. In Lakesha, Lakin, I am another you. Namaste.